Welcome to Trainer Tips. This is going to talk to you a little bit about the figure 4 position and the pigeon stretch, which we do. Basically, the stretches to stretch the outer hip. So in the exercise, we come to a point where we're sitting facing the tower and we cross one foot over the knee. And you're ideally sitting with what we call a figure 4 position so that your ankle is right on the knee, and I would say flex this foot. It's important to cue that flexion so that you help protect the knee. Otherwise, a lot of people just kind of let the foot relax and then this knee can drop and you can create a torque at the knee. So I would definitely err on the side of safeness and just say flex the knee. Now from that position, another way is basically we just lean forward into the stretch. The intention here, again, is stretching the outer hip. If someone goes into this flexion position, it can allow for that upper back stretch as well. If you're trying to avoid that, then you would come up and you would cue, if I have you sit all the way up, pull the shoulder blades together. Think about sticking the rear end out as you hip hinge forward, and then I would stop her anywhere where I start to see that flexion occur. Or I might even cue that in a class, or for you at home, can play around with letting your head go all the way forward, feeling the upper back stretch, versus that hip hinging where you're keeping a little bit of tension in between your shoulder blades and you're sticking your rear end out. If you're feeling in this position that you can barely even get your foot up into that figure 4 position, I'm going to have Cassie separate her legs. She'll anchor down or just straddle, sit to one side, anchor down, sit up, stand up rather. I'll adjust the board up. If you have the ability to have adjustable glide board, then use it to your advantage. If in this position, the board's in that parallel position as she crosses the foot, it might allow for a little bit easier time to sit in the neutral position. When the board is down, it has that, because of gravity and how you're sitting, it tends to pull you into what we call a posterior tilt. This will allow you to sit up taller, to allow you to sit in that neutral positioning. And then as you move forward, you can maybe get a little bit more of a stretch or a little bit more of a pull. So play around with that in your class. If you have that adjustable glide board, remember to use that to your advantage. Okay, now slowly coming up. I'm going to have you take your feet, you're going to straddle, anchor down, stand up. Another point where we're doing that hip stretch is when we had this scrunch attached and we went into a pigeon pose. You don't even need the scrunch attached for this. All you need to do is enter into the pigeon position. Now this is where you're going to a plank, you bring one leg forward, and then you stretch. Now oftentimes, this is one side, I just want to point this out, and then I'm going to have her switch legs. You'll oftentimes see a lot of weight bearing on this side that's closest, or the leg is flexed up and under. You'll see maybe a side bending of the trunk. So you want to think about lengthening and then eventually getting some weight over here. So I'm going to have you switch sides, because now I want to show you about the knee. So coming from here, in the beginning, it is easier to bring the knee, or the foot closest to the hip. So if it's closer, it allows for more knee flexion. It's a little easier. With that said, you still want to think about flexing this foot. Again, the torque on the knee can be really great. So flexing the foot just allows for a little bit more muscle overflow. So you're still activating versus relaxing and collapsing. Also, as you get more flexible, or as you feel you want to deepen the stretch, you can bring this foot so where the foot is aligned with the knee and still flexed, and therefore increasing the stretch to that outer hip. Another thing you can do is bring the foot back, and then as an instructor, or for you at home, you then really focus in on taking this hip and making it parallel to the glide board, or to the floor for that matter. And then eventually, if you feel like this is too much to come up, you just let yourself go forward and walk your hands all the way down and then feel the stretch. I sometimes have people do this because then they do relax into it, and then I can see how their hips are and do I need to correct them. So figure 4, pigeon pose, think about that outer hip, protect the knee by flexing the foot, think about the hip alignment, and what do I need to do, the glide board or the person, to get the optimal stretch.